Hi everyone, this is Barb Pask from Ohio. I'm going to try a little video, we'll see how it goes. I set up, and I'm sorry if I make you dizzy, I'll try to show you my setup. I set up some wine bottles over there with a screen and some lights. I didn't want to bore you with too much. I figured out my composition first and sketched on with some thin down paint. I'm using water mixable oils. And tried to pre-mix some colors first, something I've been doing just lately, and we'll see how this goes. If you're watching it, I must have posted it. I may make it in two parts. We'll see how it goes. This is a linen panel. I ordered those through Dick Blick. I order a lot of the supplies through Dick Blick. They're a really great company to deal with. All right. For me, that blue bottle, I love that cobalt blue bottle. That's my focal point, so we're going to start with that. This is a rosemary brush, the ivory. Been using those the last few years, really love them. Just trying to start with the darkest part of the bottle and put it in where I see it. I usually work dark to light. As you can see, I wiped out the lights. And I've done so many different things over the years. This is more recent that I've been working this way. You know, we're all made up of the things we learn throughout the years, and you take workshops and try new things, and I've been using the water mixable oils for a couple years. I know some people don't care for them. For me, the transition was no problem. I did it for health reasons, so I didn't have solvent in front of me all the time. I really didn't find them to be any different. I don't use a medium. I try to stay out of the water. In the beginning, when I sketched, I used some water, and it evaporates out pretty quick. Try to stay back on the brush so I don't get too picky. You know, at this point I don't really care if things are really accurate. And I figure whether I'm outside painting or I'm using a still life setup or even a photograph, if you know, that's your inspiration. It doesn't have to be exact unless, of course, it's a commission and you paint it for someone else. Main thing is that it be a good painting, we hope. Recently I took a very good workshop from Sarah Sedgwick. She does online mentorship. I would recommend you check her out if you're not familiar with her. Sedwick. And some of these things we were doing at the workshop I've been trying to incorporate into what I do, which like pre-mixing colors. I haven't been doing that. I've been trying to do that, and it's kind of fun. It slows down your process and makes you think a little bit. And even though obviously there's labels on these bottles, I figure anything that's printed is copyrighted, so I will not be copying these labels. And when I do printing anyway, I just kind of suggest it. I'm not sure what I'll zoom in, of course, later on. And like I say, I may do 2 parts. This may just get to be too much. I've got a screen behind this, but I have a ceiling light, so I do have multiple light sources, and, that makes it tricky. I consider myself an impressionistic painter. I like seeing paint. I like seeing brush strokes. Recently we had a woman come in. I paint with a couple different groups, and she's a watercolorist. Very, very photographic, very, very tight. Beautiful stuff. I mean, I admire what she does. It's just not how I desire to paint. Like I say, I like when I go to the art museum and things read right from a distance, and then you get up close and look at it, and it's, very painterly. That to me is exciting. The highlight on the label on the top is very purple. I like wine bottles. They're like little jewels. This up here, very purple. And I like oils too, because with acrylics, I've worked with those too. They're fun. You can go over and over and over them, but with oils, if you paint with oils, you know how forgiving they are. If you don't get what you want, you wipe it off. And I've mixed up dirty whites for most of the label. Again, this blue bottle's my focal point, so the part of the label here that's catching the light, I've got a warm white mixed up. We'll wipe out some of this so I don't get all that blue in it and turn it green. Much darker on that side where it is away from the light. That's the darkest white I mixed up. This is a weird shaped label in the middle here. we'll just move on. Don't want to get too picky yet. I tend to use a pretty limited palette to warm and cool blue, warm and cool yellow, warm and cool red, and white. I throw a few other colors on sometimes. I like transparent red oxide. I do use that frequently. I even threw some phthalo blue on this time. I thought it might help mix in this blue bottle, but nah, as it turned out, it wasn't the best choice. All right, well, we got it covered. I'm sorry. We'll move on from there. All right, these two bottles are both green bottles. I do like this label here. I've got to watch and not get it any closer to the top than there, because when I frame it, I like running things off. I ran the back of this one off, but I want to keep this down far enough to where I don't crop it off with the frame. So let's start up there so that doesn't happen. I don't drink wine, but I save wine bottles. I actually have a whole cupboard full of props. You can get addicted to buying them and shopping for them. We might move this one down even because I don't want to line them up, so we'll think about that. I paint with two different groups, and I chair one of the groups. Wonderful group. We meet every week, and so I bring still lifes in frequently for the whole group to paint. It's really fun to be part of a group. We're really lucky to have it. I highly recommend it. See, I'm going to have to bring this bottle down because I've made the adjustment and got it away from the top, so it's got this space below the label, and then we go into this. One of the suggestions Sarah gave that I was talking about in my workshop recently, which I did like, is when you're sketching like this, is to do straight lines, because she said when you do this, you're looking at the canvas and you're not looking at the objects. So you kind of look where things hit and tend to do more straight lines for your drawing, which makes sense. Always paint my background last. It gives me a chance to clean up edges and reshape my objects. Sometimes I leave some of the tone canvas peeking through. That can be a nice look too. I think we'll block that label in. I've also been mixing up a kind of a mud before I start too. That was from Sarah's workshop too. The 3 primaries and a little white. That's what I blocked in with, which kind of looks like a burnt sienna. And then you can mix that into objects that are not your focal point and kind of gray them down. Okay, we want to darken this up where it turns away from the light. These are bristle brushes. You can probably hear me hitting the canvas with them. It's what I tend to use. You know, I'll have to think about this. Like I said, I don't like that these are lining up. If you got a bad composition, you got a bad painting. So push comes to shove, I'd be wiping it off. You got to be willing to do that. Got to let them go sometimes. Yeah, I'm adjusting. Yep. I'm thinking about this. See, it's hitting this bottle right there. Labels to about there. See, the blue bottle should really be down here lower. More like that. It's my fault because I jumped in and didn't have everything correct. So we'll bring the top of this down. We're almost 20 minutes in, so I may stop this and start another one. Gonna take a little while, isn't it? The top of cap on this one is gold, which is kind of nice. It kind of begins there, kind of ends there. All right, let's stop this and I'll start another one.